Neil, it is August.
It is.
We are getting ready to head to Lincoln, Nebraska for Gravel Worlds.
Can't wait.
Can't wait. That and so much more on this episode of This is Gravel. Hey, welcome to Gravel Guru here in the studio for Season 7. And Neil, can you believe it's August?
I can't, Matt. I mean, kids go back to school this week. The summer has just absolutely flown by. But hey, I've been riding bikes a lot, so that's a good thing.
You have been riding bikes a lot. We have been riding bikes a fair amount.
Yeah, I mean,
you've been riding a lot. I kind of drag in the balance on the other end of the scale of
let's put it this way. You got out quite a bit too, Matt. You did get a century in here not too long ago, so you've been riding bikes, I would say, a lot as well, just not as much as I have.
That's fair. You know what you've been doing more of also than me?
What's that, Matt?
Running.
Yes.
Running. So we're in August, and guess what? It is the week of Gravel Worlds.
Yes.
Which means second half of the double-double for Neil. Neil, you went down to Mid-South in March. It snowed on the run day. The wind blew on the ride day for 100 miles. You completed the first half of the double-double. How are you feeling headed into the week of Gravel Worlds?
Matt, I'm feeling pretty good. I'll be honest with you. Today's Monday when we're filming. I just can't wait for Thursday and Friday to get here, to get out to Lincoln, to actually get running. And then obviously Saturday on the bike. The energy, the anticipation is kind of getting to me, and I'm ready just to get out there.
I understand that.
Ready to get out there and go. Fitness-wise, I think I'm good. I feel really great. Runs have gone well. Rides have gone well. I feel like I actually had an opportunity, even with everything that happened earlier on in the spring, to be able to get my fitness at a level that it was not at when I went into Mid-South, both running and riding. So.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned it kind of here in the intro at the beginning of the segment, but we actually went out and we did a century 2 weeks ago today.
Yep.
By far, my first century ride on the single speed, 100 miles out there with a little bit of climbing. I mean, it's hard to get climbing that compares here in the Flint Hills to somewhere up there on the northwest side of Lincoln. But got 100 miles in, and I think it was for sure elapsed time even my fastest century ever. Yeah, and my only century ever on a single speed.
Well, I mean, it was a good one. You know, we got out there and everything was moving well, and really neither of us ever suffered miserably for a pretty long time of it. I mean, we got rolling well. We rolled down into Madison, so folks have been here before in the Flint Hills for events. You know Madison. And
you know the Caseys.
You know the Caseys, for sure. And so we stopped there and did a quick refuel, but then we kind of cut across really the southern part of Lyon County and made our way over to Cottonwood Falls. And Cottonwood Falls is an area that back in the day, I guess you could say, was part of the 200-mile course, but hasn't been around in a while because of
always falls on rodeo weekend.
Yeah, conflicts with the rodeo. And so
and as long as we've been riding cycles here, they've been having rodeos in Chase County even longer.
Correct.
I mean, 100+ years.
Yeah.
So.
And so we made our way that way, and we had some good climbs between those two places. I mean, there was some pretty good climbing.
Road V.
Yeah, Road V out of Cottonwood, heading up towards Cahola. Again, pretty good section. Yeah. But like I say, not the climbs that we're expecting to see this coming Saturday.
Yay. Yeah. All right. I don't know really how to follow it up.
I know how to follow it up. I'll shift my gears.
I am shifting gears this week. I am changing my gear ratio on tomorrow, Tuesday.
So the all-important question for everybody, what are you running? What is the gears?
I think unless I change my mind again between now and Saturday, 42.19. I've been training at 42.18. The Century was at 42.18. So I think since we're going another 50 miles farther, longer climbs, probably just go up one more gear, tooth in the rear, and I have no clue how that calculates in gear inches. You can all run the calculators online. You're already pulling them up on your phones anyways. We're going to suffer through it, but, I mean, headed into Cottonwood Falls at like mile 62, 63, I held over a 15-mile-an-hour average, which is saying a lot for me.
Yeah, we were moving well, and, I mean, the reality is, again, we had I would say a pretty nice day all around. The gravel for the most part was good. We had some low maintenance stuff here and there.
We met the grader once.
Met the grader.
Yeah.
Met a couple semi trucks that we had to get out of the way for. But overall, it was a smooth day, and I think it was a great day just for you being on a single speed for the first time, heading up to ride 150 miles on a single speed to kind of test your legs and see how you felt.
I needed a century under me. I'm a firm believer of you need to do 75% or 2/3 of an event in training at some point, just so you know. I think you can struggle through that last 30 to 25% of an event. What we're not talking about is that day, wind-wise, was perfect.
Yeah.
It got hot. That last 10 miles, 105-degree heat index.
So that's one thing that we encountered on our ride that, knock on wood.
Yeah, you better knock on this.
Knock on wood. Hopefully we aren't going to have to deal with here on Saturday. It did. It got up to 105 heat index on us in the afternoon, early afternoon hours.
Yeah,
we're talking noon, 1 o'clock, and that heat definitely for both of us, we went from averaging, like say 15 plus, even close to 70, 80 miles in, we were averaging about 15 plus to that dropping down almost, not quite, but almost an entire mile per hour over those last 20 miles. Those last 20 miles really got hard in that.
Well, it was one of those days you truly just felt like you were in an oven, because no matter how much you slowed down, when you stopped in the shade, all you did was get hotter because you didn't have the air from the bike moving over your body.
Yeah.
There was no way to cool down, and it was just one of those days. But we've pushed through it. We know we can get through that. Yeah. I would say it'd be very ugly for me if I still had another 50 miles to do in that heat. Things would have to change. I'd probably have to find a place to sit down in the shade for a while.
Yeah.
Which I don't want to have to do on Saturday. Correct. But we would figure out a way.
All right, so let me ask you this. This is your first. For those that don't know, Matt in the past for Gravel Guru has covered Gravel Worlds going back. Going back years. A lot of photos, a lot of videos, a lot of things up there as far as Gravel Worlds is concerned. But you've never rode at Gravel Worlds, just like Mid-South.
Correct.
This was your first Mid-South back in March. This is your first Gravel Worlds that you're riding here on Saturday. So what's your mindset? I know we've personally talked a lot, but what's your mindset going into Saturday as far as saying, hey, I'm going to ride 150 miles in Nebraska on new-to-me roads, and it's going to be a long day, man. It's a long day.
Well, you know me, and you know how you know when I hurt on the bike.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I quit talking. So what I'm trying to do is my homework and research as many corny jokes as I can come up with.
Okay.
That was my only corn joke I had.
Corny joke. Yeah.
No, my attitude going into it is Friday I've got to stay on top of my fluids. I made the mistake at Mid-South of hanging out with friends all day at the expo. On Friday, I made the mistake of hanging out with friends.
How dare you?
Right? How dare Matt have friends, let alone hang out with them? But not be on my feet all day Friday, out in the heat.
Yeah.
Might just go check out some things in Lincoln. I don't know. But eat good, stay hydrated. It's why I'm rocking the 32-ounce water bottle here. I've been in a bad habit lately of drinking a lot of pop and soda. Currently, this week, I'm completely clean of that for the last couple of days. Just trying to pay attention to how much water and coffee I put in me, because we're not cutting out the coffee. And then really just try to get good night's sleep. I'm going to be up early on Friday morning to see Neil off on the 50K, but then probably go get breakfast, have fun while he's out there suffering on a run for a little while. But make sure I sleep well, because I'm a firm believer of I haven't had a great training week this last couple days.
Yeah.
Just haven't had time. Wife's back in school, getting ready, the classroom ready, very similar for you.
Mm-hmm.
So you've been back completely on kid duty by yourself again while she's back in school. Just some of those type of things haven't been good, but the training's been done.
I was going to say, for both of us, we are in similar situations with that, with our wives, both teachers, and we were riding really good up until the point that it was like, okay, it's time to go get the classrooms ready here a week before meet the teacher night and classes start up. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, I'm on kid duty in the evenings, or I'm on this in the, in the mornings. And so that is how I've gotten a little bit of riding in, is I've gotten up early. Now that's part of what I would call my training for me personally is the fact that I'm going to have to get up back-to-back days, Friday and Saturday at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
2 hours. That's usually when I wake up before an event, eat breakfast right away, and kind of get everything going towards the run and then the ride. I've been waking up at 4 a.m., sometimes 5 a.m. over the last few days.
Not.
Yeah, I wouldn't suggest it too often, but I am doing that, and I have been able to get at least a little bit of riding in early before anybody's moving. But
And I think that's the thing for me is trying to get some of these things that I can controlled, for lack of better terms. I'm going to leave Thursday afternoon, get up there, leave the bike shop, leaving it in Isaac and Chelsea and Anissa's hands here, so I can quit necessarily focusing on this, get the mind in the right frame, of right place for it, and then on Saturday, get on the bike and just start pedaling.
yeah.
The weather, knock on wood, looks absolutely phenomenal. I can tell you I can suffer a lot longer at 80 degrees than I can at 110 heat index.
And let's be clear, too, that's 80 as a high, okay? As right now, at least. And again, this is the Midwest. Now, the Midwest, I would say, I've noticed in this time of year is not as unpredictable as far as, like, when we talk about Mid-South.
5 days out, I'm not as worried.
Correct. And so I feel very comfortable that mid-80s, low 80s has kind of sat for now probably about 8 days or so.
Yeah.
As far as a prediction of weather, but if anything, it's going to be odd, I would say, weather-wise in the morning.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know that day we rode to Madison, not this last one on the Century, but the one before that, we had kind of a chilly morning.
Yeah.
And we commented, and that was like 70 degrees.
Yeah. No, I rode on Saturday morning here, and it was about 70 degrees Saturday morning when I rode, and the first 10 miles out was kind of chilly.
Yeah, and I think I saw one of the meteorologists I follow, it might have been Frank down in Wichita, but talking about this is either the 22nd or 23rd day this summer that Kansas has been over 100-degree day. And so it just truly felt like a really hot summer. So, yeah, looking forward to a little bit of a temp break. So even if it does sway 10 degrees one way or the other,
yeah,
it's still a relief.
A high of 90 honestly wouldn't be bad, just considering
most years you'd be thrilled for that.
Yeah. What we've been riding through this summer, high of 90 would be fine. Again, the mornings are just, it's going to be odd. Now, the run, honestly, that won't be as bad because the body does heat up a lot quicker running than it does cycling.
Yeah.
But man, it's going to be odd.
We've left. We're leaving from Schilling Bridge there in the morning. My goal is to try to keep up with Neil and maybe see if we can stick together. But we both know, we both have the understanding that we both have a goal in front of us that we need to finish, and that's not necessarily a group effort.
Correct. No, we also so Matt and I, we ride together a lot here within the Flint Hills. I would say on good weeks we ride together 3 or 4 times. Bad weeks we don't ride at all, maybe together, but maybe at least one.
I would say we probably get 90, at least from my perspective, probably 90% of my miles come with you.
Yeah, or bigger group rides.
Yeah,
But we ride together a lot. We're used to each other's pace, and the conversation that we had, what happened at Mid-South. So at Mid-South, my left leg was bad from the run. I had hamstring issues, I had calf issues, and I just couldn't get my leg going when it was 20 degrees that morning. So we got kind of going, and we rode together, the first 3 or 4 miles, and all of a sudden you kind of took off up a hill, and my leg was just like, I'm not pedaling right now. I'm sorry. Like, I just got to kind of
And let me tell you, I felt fantastic at that point.
I know. But what we realized is that we spent the entire first 50-something miles a mile and a half apart from each other, basically.
We were within 10 minutes of each other the whole half.
Yeah, and so we just kind of decided. Matt waited for me at the Chamois Butter aid station that they had out there.
The bacon and bourbon stop.
Bacon and bourbon. And
which I had none of either.
It's like, no, just going to stay on the bike and keep moving. And so we got there and kind of met up and rode the rest of the way in. And the reality is, if we're both feeling good and we're going to kind of be around the same pace, I think we'll probably end up staying together because it's better to suffer with a friend than it is to suffer alone for sure out there. But if one or both of us, one of us is feeling better than the other and just having a great day, by all means, Matt knows he can go and take off on the single speed and leave me, or if for some reason I'm feeling great after running 31 miles, I might just take off and leave him.
Neil's a lot more optimistic about me on a single speed than even I am, but I guess he has done it on single speed before, so...
Yeah, so the only other 2 times I've done the 150 up there, 2017 and 2018.
So you've never done Gravel Worlds on a geared bike?
Not the 150, no. Last year I
Okay.
did the 75
Okay.
on my Niner when it had gears on it.
Okay.
But I've never done the 150 with gears. So both 2017, 2018. I did 2017 on my state with rim brakes and tubes in my tires. Back old school. I might get laughed at if I had a bike like that now. Who knows?
Maybe not a bike like that, but tubes for sure.
Tubes. But yeah, and then I did I did it in 2018 on the Niner and had an absolute blast. I mean, I had a blast too in 2017 on the state, but this will be the first time taking on 150 miles with gears at Gravel Worlds, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of looking forward to that. Except for the whole, I just ran 31 miles a day before.
Yeah. That's fair. No, I'm looking forward to it. I'm honestly, if you want like an insight to my day and what I'm planning on is on my handlebars there, I'm leaving a note, or in my top tube bag type thing is going to just be a note card that has all of the towns listed and what miles on course. For the mindset that if I get in a dark place, I'm really good about going, oh, it's only 10 miles to the next support stop. Oh, I just have to do our typical ride to Opie now.
And that's the thing I think that for a lot of folks out there, if you're going to Gravel Worlds, which they've got 2,500 people that are coming out for Gravel Worlds, big group. So if you're going to be there, especially after you get past the aid station at the farm, which I think is around mile 60, there are stops almost staged every 15 miles, roughly, give or take. I mean, whether it's just a quick water stop, or if it's at somebody's farm, or it's an actual supported nice oasis, or it's coming back through the main aid station. Their stops are about every 15 or so miles, into Malcolm. If you want to stop there, that's one of the places. But just keep pushing yourself that little extra bit, that little 15 miles. Well, it might take you, depending on the part of the day, an hour. It might take you less than an hour. It might take you possibly an hour and a half. Who knows? But keep pushing.
We talked about this when we were looking at the route map originally. And my thing is one, I'm really jealous I'm not covering the race this year from a media perspective because it's 150 miles in an area about this big on the map.
Yeah.
It is a bowl full of spaghetti. So there'd be a lot of places to get photos, video, kind of a dream from that perspective. But we talked about if I'm feeling bad, I'll just cut it back into Shilling Bridge. No. Because the thing is with that is I'm at no point closer to Shilling Bridge than the next checkpoint, especially in the back half of the day.
Nope.
And if you've got the energy to go back to town and be done, you have the energy to get to the next checkpoint is my mindset.
After you get past, then that's the reality. After you get past where the farm is at, the main aid station, you're gonna come through twice. I think it's around mile 60 and mile 130 or so you come through there. After you come through there, you are never any closer. I mean, you basically stay the same distance from town, so there's no point of hopping on the bike and riding back because you're tired. Just keep going to the next station. The reality is we're not going to, again, knock on wood, but we're not going to have one of these super hot days like we've had before in 2017 or 2018 would be good examples where it was warmer and you were, 2018, I was just looking forward to getting anything remotely cold at a gas station only to get there.
Was it the hot year, the hot?
It was pretty warm in 2018. It was the year that I definitely felt warmer there than I felt in 2017.
I don't even think I was still there when you came in all honesty. It was so hot, even just standing at the finish line.
Yeah, I was pretty gassed. I got there. I was gassed both years, reality. It was pretty...
Sounds promising.
Long day, guys. It's 150 miles.
On a single speed.
On a single speed, yes. And so, but Matt can do it because Matt's stronger than me and he has nothing to worry about. He'll be able to ride the bike and get through it all and have a great time. Again, not going to have the heat this year, man. You're going to be fine.
Yeah, I really feel like you're just trying to make sure you still have a riding partner when this is done to go ride with.
I would like to have a riding partner with me, Matt, because then I can, hang out and talk and tell corny jokes, supposedly.
Crickets.
It
really was a bad joke.
It was, but that's okay. We're heading to Nebraska.
So we are headed to Nebraska. Let's talk a little bit about what it's like since Mid-South for you. Obviously, you were out about 7 weeks there because of your surgery mishap. But what's it been like getting the training ready for the run portion?
Okay, so I mean, out of that, I was able to run, and I use air quotes here, run a little bit quicker than I was able to ride. Now, ultimately, that kind of actually hit back, and I probably should have just not ran either, because my longest runs were about 2 miles, and they weren't very productive, and they were pretty painful for me, and they turned out to be, I would say, a negative thing. And so once I was able to fully get back running, which would be about the time of May, it was a slow build, and it wasn't until June that I actually was able to run 10 miles. I ran 10 miles on a run in June and felt pretty good afterwards. And then I started kind of building longer runs together, did a couple more 10s, did a couple long back-to-back days. And then it was crazy here. About 3 weeks ago, something just clicked. And I had a 15-mile run one week and a 20-mile run the week after. And those two were honestly the two best runs I've probably had in training, whether it be back in 2019 when I did the double, or training for the double here at Mid-South, or at Gravel Worlds. They were two just fantastic runs that I had in back-to-back weeks.
One thing we missed in talking about the Century is we rode on Monday 100 miles, but what did you do on Saturday?
I ran the 20 miles.
And then came in and watched the Tour de Femmes with us.
Yes, I did, yeah. Came in and watched the Tour de Femmes.
But you ran a 20-mile, had a day off, but then rode the 100 miles.
Had a busy day on the day off. I mean, I was still on my feet a lot that day, and I ended up about 12,000 steps, so I was still active. I just wasn't able to ride or run because of how busy the day was. But
And full disclosure, he is the minister of gravel because he is a full-time minister, and that day off was a Sunday.
And that day off was a Sunday.
It was a day off the bike
busy,
or running.
And we had a big, huge area get together up at the church camp that I'm on the board with, and so I was running around a lot that day, just not running with my running shoes.
Okay, fair enough.
In a tank top and shorts. But yeah, it was still a busy day. But yeah, then we still hopped on, and I'll be honest with you, when I woke up that morning to go for the 100-mile bike ride, my legs hurt more Monday morning than they did Sunday morning from the 20-mile run. And usually that's how my body does hit me, is I hurt more the second day after one of those long runs than I do the morning after them. And I was hurting Monday morning. I walked down the stairs, and I'm like, man, if this doesn't change quick, this is going to be a really long day on the bike. And it turned out to be a relatively short day on the bike, all things considered. I mean, especially considering we were talking about, man, with the stops, because we were self-supported for 100 miles. You know, we stopped into gas stations, Casey's. But self-supported.
Yeah.
You had to walk in, had to get what you wanted, had to, either eat out on the curb or get your nutrition in your bottles or whatever. But that takes time.
Yeah.
And so we're like, all together, maybe, who knows, with stops and everything included, 10 hours maybe. And the fact that we did it 2 hours less than that, and our moving time, again, was quite well, I would say.
I think part of the motivation on that was we knew the heat was coming at some point in the day.
Yes.
So we kept moving for them. But we were never rushed at the gas stations either, in Madison or Cottonwood.
I want to say, actually, I think at both of them we took probably more time than we should have.
Oh, yeah. We could have cut those times in half easily.
I mean, the reality is we probably could have come in at 7.5 hours total time.
Yeah.
Just cutting a little bit of time there.
There was the time at Cohola Hill at the bottom of it where I sat there on a rock and pondered why I agreed to climb this hill.
Yeah.
And it was a climb.
You did agree to climb it, and you got.
And I climbed the first half of it and walked up the second half of it.
You got climb it, but hey, you know what? That's a single speed thing though too that you got to learn. I mean, sometimes there are some hills on a single speed.
Yeah,
you're gonna have to walk up depending on what gearing you've chosen.
To be clear, I was ecstatic that I didn't have leg cramps at that point in the day. I've been fighting cramps really bad all of a sudden. Part of it's why I'm drinking so much more water and laying off the pop and stuff this week. This summer I've been having cramps out of nowhere. I haven't had them in a couple of years riding since I've been drinking Tailwind and all of that. But I've had them randomly this summer. I had no cramps at the point in that day, but I also knew if I tried to do something stupid like pedal to the top of the hill, it was just going to tax my legs more than I had at that point in the day.
Especially with the heat coming on at that point. We could both feel the heat coming on. I mean, the heat hit me in a little bit of a different way, and my stomach kind of went sideways. I probably shouldn't have had that second slice of pizza that I had. Hey, I don't usually. There's a reason I don't eat food on the bike. I drink my fluids and get my calories through Tailwind because my stomach just doesn't like to put a lot of food in it while I'm riding. It never has. I learned that very early on when I was doing races that the more I ate, the worse I felt. And so I found a way to get my calories in and not eat food ultimately. It doesn't mean that I still don't occasionally eat. Doesn't mean that, when we go out, I don't still get a slice of Casey's here and there. But when I mix that Casey's in on a 105-degree heat index day, I wasn't feeling the best. So that was a slow trip up the hill for me, too.
I also learned on that day, though, and we talked about this quite a bit during the ride, that I love the Tailwind matcha tea. I can't have that much caffeine in the heat.
Correct. Yeah, I learned back when I started using Tailwind 2016, I believe it was. It wasn't too long after that I realized I can't ride caffeinated on a 100-degree day.
But
I can do it in the morning, first thing. But
full transparency, I switched over to the lemonade and had a great time with it. It got me through the day.
I was going to say that I usually, on a hot day, if I say, hey, it's going to be a 105-degree day, with heat index or whatever. The caffeine will usually come in for my bottles to start the day. So actually, when we rode that 100 miles, I had a caffeinated bottle from here down to Madison. And so I got my caffeinated in then, and then everything else the rest of the day for me was non-caffeinated. I did have enough mix that if I wanted to make another one, I could.
Yep.
But I just chose to not go caffeinated in the latter part of the day. And
I might still have that bag of Tailwind in my seat bag now that I think about this, because I should have another. Okay.
Speaking of your seat bag, Matt, have you checked your inner tube to make sure that it is still a good tube, just in case you were to need to put one in?
I have not. To be clear, I have 2 inner tubes in my seat bag right now, and I have zero faith in either one of them. They are the takeouts when I got my loft.
Okay.
Which was 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was looking at them when I put it in before this ride, because to be clear, on the single speed, I'd been riding without a tube even on me, or a frame pump or CO2 or anything. I was just kind of risking it. No, and I'm not even going to try to see if they're good, because this is back to working in a bike shop all day. I'm going to buy myself a new tube and trust the manufacturer was good with it, and put that one in the seat bag, and I'm only going to take one. I'm taking 1 tube, 2 CO2 cartridges, my frame pump, and my Dynaplug. I'm rolling 40 mil Ramblers on my bike with the Exo Shield, not the Silk Shield on it, but narrow tire. That's narrow for me, at least. I know not to everybody that's narrow, but when I've been putting in all my miles on the Fargo and everything before this with 2.1s on it, it's narrow for me. Like we said, 42.19. I am rocking. You're the one that convinced me to do this originally. Dude. 2 of the 32-ounce water bottles. We have these in the store. They're non-insulated, but they do fit in the metal bottle racks. No problem. You got to kind of stretch and conform them a little bit. But it's just, to roll with 64 ounces of water is just too convenient.
Well, again, I did that on so one of the things we haven't talked about this summer is when I did a Rock Ridge Gravel, Bobby's event.
Correct.
And I took 2 of those for that day out there on the bike. And I'm like, you know what? This is going to be a good test to see how I like these and if 2 bottles will be what I want going to Gravel Worlds. And yeah, the fact 64 ounces in my cages, nothing on my back, no third cage down below, nothing on the forks, because I wouldn't want to do that again. I mean, and those 64 ounces were more than enough.
And I will say it got, what were we? We hit Cottonwood at mile 62.
62, yep.
So we hit the Casey's on the edge of town here with 2 miles to go. So we went 36 miles on 2 bottles in that 100-degree heat.
64 ounces.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's almost 3 of normal bottles, people would have. And
I will say, when we got to Casey's, I was getting worried about how much I had left on the bike.
Yeah.
At that point, but it was 30 degrees warmer too.
Yeah.
So we should be good. Honestly, I guess probably something I need to be aware of and self-conscious about is if it's going to be 60 degrees in the morning, putting fluids in me.
Yeah, that's a scary thing that a lot of people run into, and I've noticed on other events that I've done in the past, is that you get one of those nice, cool mornings, and it's just, you know what, this feels great, and people don't drink. And I remember specifically, actually, it was back doing a tour to Lyon County back in, I think it was 2017, and it was a nice, cool morning, and nobody around me was drinking. And people ahead of me, it seemed like, weren't drinking either. Everybody was just going good because, man, it was nice and cool and it felt great out there. And then as you roll up 40 miles, 50 miles, 60 miles down the road, there are people left and right on the side of the roads that have cramped up and they haven't drank anything all day.
So we've been talking about weather here. Yeah. This is a question that came up in the shop.
Okay.
Let's just say the forecast, and I'm just going to put this out there, square numbers. 80 degrees high. 8 to 10 mile an hour northwest wind. Would you rather have 3 more degrees in temperature go up or 1 mile an hour in wind? For those ratios. I mean, would you rather have 3 miles or 3 degrees and 1 mile an hour more wind? Or
so a higher wind and higher temperature?
No,
or
would you rather it be 80 degrees with a 20 mile an hour wind, basically?
Ooh, I don't want a 20 mile an hour wind. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'd much rather take
You'd be like 90 and a 15.
Ooh, man, 90 and 15 would be just about, I think, the limits of what I would want at Gravel World for 150. Just reality. But I would not want a 20. Just knowing what a 20 mile an hour wind feels like. I mean, just think back, for instance, to Mid-South. Think back to riding into that wind for all of those, final 50 miles, basically, and just how brutal that was. Man, riding into a wind can, I think, wreck me more than riding in the heat.
I would agree. I'd rather have heat than wind. Though I will say, on this route, we don't have any one prevailing direction we spend all day at type deal.
I was going to say, we go north, we go south, we go north, we go south.
But yeah, I mean, it's not where we're stuck in any one direction that long. So if there is wind.
And the thing is, there are lengthy sections. I mean, you look at the map and you're like, what are you talking about? I mean, there are lengthy sections where we come, for instance, like mile 30, we do take a downward trend south, but there are plenty of turns where you can get reprieve.
You get a little bit of a relief.
There are going to be turns where we're going to turn back up north for a second as we go around a lake, and then we kind of come back south. But it really, like you referred to it as a bowl of spaghetti earlier. I mean, that's very much what the map looks like. I mean, it's just all over the place, intertwining. And I think it's gonna be a good day though, especially if the weather stays. Having a lot of folks out there, having a lot of people to ride with, a lot of encouragement, I'm sure, on the bike. And I know for me and for I think the 26, 28 of us that are still in there for the double, we're gonna be enjoying getting done with Saturday and getting past these 4 events this year.
It's a huge commitment.
It is, reality is I originally was just going to do Gravel Worlds. I mean, when I knew about Gravel Worlds, doing the double, and I was like, okay, cool, I'm going to do Gravel Worlds. And then I heard about the double, and then the double kind of started getting, pushed a little bit more, hey, and I fell under peer pressure and did it. And the reality is I did not anticipate that I would honestly be able to get through Mid-South because I didn't feel like my training was going to be there. And my training wasn't there for Mid-South, just to be clear. I mean, I was not in the shape I needed to be in at all going into Mid-South. I had long runs, but I really hadn't had any bike time. I mean, you look at my bike miles from the beginning of the year, and I was not riding. I was focusing so much on the run aspect that I've put more miles in on my bike. Now, granted, the weather's different, but I put more miles on my bike in the month of July than I did in all of January, February, and March. I mean, it was just a completely different kind of training that I had this time around because I said, okay, I got to really focus on both of these, especially after having 7.5 weeks off the bike after the surgery. I was like, okay, I've got to focus. I've got to make sure that I'm getting the bike miles in, getting the run miles in, comfortable where I'm at in both of them. And I'll tell you, I'm very comfortable. It doesn't mean that things still can't go wrong. It doesn't mean that I still might not just bonk and hit a wall. Doesn't mean that I won't run into issues like I did where I cramped, in the cold at Mid-South, but I feel very comfortable heading into Friday, Saturday. But again, my anticipation is just so high, I'm ready to be there and get it going.
Well, this ties me into the final question. Both of us can answer this one. What are you most looking forward to doing or getting to Lincoln for?
I mean, it's always awesome just to get to see everybody again. Get to hang out, get to see everybody. Because there's folks that sometimes you see once a year because they come to this event and this is the event that they like, and so maybe we don't see them here at Unbound. We don't see them down at Mid-South or maybe at some of the other big gravel events that are out there as well. But we do see them at Gravel World, so I'm excited to get to see folks. Reality is what I'm excited for the most is you can see it maybe on my phone here. There's a couple notifications too, but I'm excited for that 50K medal.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's been on my phone for the last month and a half. I look at it every day quite a few times when I pick up my phone, and I'm excited to cross that finish line of that 50K, ring the bell, get my pirate coin, and be done with the running for at least a week or two.
I hear that. Just from riding with you and training with you, very much, I think you're kind of ready for that mindset of you want to go ride bikes and have fun.
I want to ride bikes, I want to have fun. I mean, I put a post out on Instagram earlier today. I cleaned up my Niner bike too because after this is over, I'm in bike packing mode, and I'm getting ready to go here in 3-4 weeks down to Pony Express and do their bike packing tour that I did last year and have a great time with that. But I'm so excited to get back doing that kind of stuff. So It's getting the bike packing stuff ready here shortly after we're done with Gravel Worlds, and do that and maybe head out to the farm occasionally and get to camp out there and experience some more bike packing as the weather cools down a little bit.
Yeah, I hear you on that. My goal to get to Lincoln is to finish.
Yeah.
I really just want to cross the finish line at a 150-mile event. Just so happens to be on a single speed this time around. But really want to do that. And honestly, I'm looking forward to the expo and seeing people. Because when the expo comes to town here in Emporia, I was a little tied up this year.
Yeah, did you get to go through the expo a lot, Matt?
No, if it wasn't just the one or two booths right outside. I know I saw the giant booth. I saw Josh from Orange Mud. That crew, a few, I tried to hit a couple ones where I specifically knew people, but I'm looking forward to just go see what's new out there in the market, talk to people. With coming out of COVID, so many reps still are just now starting to travel again. I haven't got to meet a lot of these people I might talk to on the phone.
See, that me and you'll have opposite experiences, whereas I got to be at the expo pretty much the entire time here at Unbound. I won't probably be around the expo. I might drop in a little on Thursday.
Yeah.
But Friday is going to be running, and the reality is after I'm done running, I'm not hanging out at the expo. Yeah. It's again, full recovery mode.
Yeah, my goal is to get you in the car and back to the hotel.
Yep, get back to the hotel, get rested, get recovered, get fed. That's the big thing. Eat more. Okay. Eat a lot more.
I'm good at this.
Yeah, I'm all about the eating. So, I mean, hey, if you want to make sure that I get fed afterwards too, that'd be awesome.
Fair enough. We can figure this out.
Yeah.
So, anyways, well, thank you for watching. Please say hello to us if you see us in Lincoln. Yell at us if you see us on the bike.
Or running.
That's fine too.
Matt might be running. Who knows?
But anyways, we'll see everybody in Lincoln. Have safe travels. If you can't be there, be watching for our episode right after Gravel Worlds, where we either tell you about the fantastic, glorious time we had, and maybe if there's a couple weeks before our next episode, you can read into that too.
It's going to be a great time, Matt. I can't wait. I'm excited to get up there. Definitely, if you guys do see us, please come say hi. I love getting to meet folks. We had a blast getting to meet folks when we were down at Mid-South, and that's the last event we kind of went out to. We enjoyed getting to meet folks that came here too for Unbound. Please stop and say hi.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see everybody in Lincoln. Have a good one.